Hi folks, welcome to the Nuts and Bolts of Pool. In this second installment of Winning the Mental Game of Pool, I'll be talking to you about a topic that most people don't think of when it comes to pool. I will be discussing the game of pool using your conscious awareness and how your conscious awareness to help you improve your game to new levels that you seek to find. Let me give you a little background about myself. Years ago, I studied what Zen Buddhism is on the advice of a fellow longtime straight pool player. And what he told me was there's a lot to learn from that study, and that deals with the mental game of billiards. And what I discovered was I began to appreciate the limitations of the consciousness and the power of knowledge beyond what you're trying to do at the table. And when you practice the self, which is the will, the calculation, the conscious control, and so forth, dissolves into an awareness beyond the self. According to Buddhism, the notion that individuals are ultimate real entities is an illusion. We're only points within a larger whole. Zen practice undermines the individualistic mindset, freeing us to experience wholeness rather than self-seeking. Zen influenced advice on shooting pool aims to take the ego out of the shot and let the shot shoot itself, if that makes sense to you. To understand this, you have to understand that there was like psychology research done on Zen thoughts of conscious control. And it showed that most information processing and motor skill takes place outside of conscious control. We perceive and control many things of which we have no conscious awareness of. I mean, your own experience tells you the same thing. Consider reflexes. You drop a glass, but catch it before it hits the floor without any conscious awareness of or deliberate planning about how fast it's falling and what direction or where to move your arm or when to close your hand. All of this is perpetual, and motor control happens unconsciously. Right? I mean, pool players know the power of unconscious information processing, even if we haven't realized that we know it. We talk freely about a person having a good sense of the game, or we complain on a bad day, that we can't get a sense of the table. We talk about finding a rhythm. We sometimes just see that angles and feel what needs to be done. All of these common terms bear witness to the fact that much mental work takes place below the level of consciousness. Knowing what to do just occurs to us spontaneously. And the unconscious delivers to conscious awareness a finished product, right? I mean, free to improve your game probably has to do with this. It teaches you to let your unconscious processes do the work by countering the mistaken notion that conscious control is the ultimate arbiter of play. It relaxes the chokehold of consciousness, creating space for conscious or unconscious, to work. Well and good, yet every pool instructor tells us to concentrate. As we know, we don't learn new skills without careful conscious control. When we're learning, we must pay close attention consciously to everything we do. Whether learning or competing, we must concentrate, yet conscious control can destroy our play. An interesting, almost Zen paradox-like. Okay, let's talk about this for a moment. Play honed skills, right? We've developed in the struggle to survive. We have instinctive abilities hardwired into being human that pool exploits. Few, if any of these, require such conscious effort. Reminder what it was like when you first fell in love with the game. when without any lessons or sophisticated knowledge, you could just see and how to make beautiful shots. This experience called forth instinctive abilities, immersing you in their pleasure. And this is the birth of play, right? But play hones skills. Play is artificial. Nowhere in nature are we faced with a 4.5 by 9 foot table with a uniform cloth cover and an assortment of perfectly symmetrical spheres, which, using a carefully crafted stick, we move about the table into the pockets according to the standard rules. We do not naturally possess enough skills to play well this artificial thing called pool. In pursuing the game of pool, we need to make full use of our instinctive abilities while also developing new skills to such a level that they function as if they were natural. For this, we need a proper understanding of the interplay of conscious and unconscious controls over our play. The general rule of consciousness and its relation to unconscious information processing is not hard to understand. Consciousness concerns itself with choices, with how things are, though they might have been otherwise, such as what exact items are in our immediate vicinity and what relevance they might have for our well-being and what we might need to do about it, that it's not automatically obvious. Where the right choices is obvious, like removing our hand from a hot source, like a surface, we don't need conscious awareness to act. Indeed, it's well documented that action starts about a half second right before we're even conscious of needing to act in such a situations. We have wiring to perceive, calculate, and do some things automatically, but other things have to be controlled through conscious deliberation. Some of our automatic wiring is original equipment we were born with. They are the instinctive abilities with which evolution has endowed us. Some automatic wiring results from experience. We have done a certain thing so often, or our preferences have become so well formed and habitual that no choice need to be entertained. Think of how many times you've been driving down the road and only to be surprised that you have no memory of the last 10 miles because you were lost in thought. Though driving is not a natural skill, you have become so good at it that you often have no need for conscious awareness to drive successfully. Where our wiring is insufficient, we have to calculate consciously how to make things work. Thus, contingent situations and acquisition of new skills requires conscious control. Careful, deliberate practice lets us build new wiring to take care of contingencies we confront repeatedly. This is a well-documented effort. Researchers even know something about the precise chemical processes of forming new wiring until the new wiring develops, though we must control our actions consciously precisely because we don't yet have the wiring, just as we have to concentrate consciously to learn to type or to play a musical instrument. We have to pay conscious attention to learn to shoot. Once we have consciously carried out the practice that developed new wiring, we can do those things, right? Through unconscious processes, automatically, that's just a good musician rarely thinks about individual finger motions during performance. The good pool player need not think about most details of his game. So why should we bother honing the unconscious controls over our play? Why go through the pain consciously deliberating, like developing our skills? Everyone knows that we have to if we are to play well, but why understanding the answer is not just academic. The answer will help us learn how to let conscious and unconscious controls work together in our play. Okay? Simply put, consciousness is severely limited in how much information it can handle. The bandwidth of consciousness, the amount of information it can handle, is less than 1/1,000,000th of the bandwidth of the central nervous system. I mean, think about that. I mean, it's just 1/1,000,000th of the bandwidth. By moving a task out of the realm of consciousness, we free up consciousness to do things like a lot of other things. This is one reason why advanced pool players see more opportunities and strategies than less advanced players. Consciousness is free to think about more possibilities because it does not have to concern itself with the basics of how to shoot. The more knowledge you move into the automatic category of, the freer you are to think about options before you are on the table. You literally do not have the brain power to consider all the options if your conscious efforts have to concern themselves with how to line yourself up to move the cue and so forth. So let's talk about, how do you develop unconscious controls? Okay, well, pool lends itself to developing extensive unconscious controls precisely because it's artificial. You make the same movements over and over again. You face the same angles repeatedly. The rules are always the same. Basic strategies of play apply in countless situations. You are to hone your skills to the utmost. All of this needs to become routine, automatic, controlled by brain circuitry that needs no input from consciousness, because no choice is needed to be made. The more knowledge that become unconscious, the freer you are to consider more advanced and subtle possibilities. How do you do that? Practice, but deliberately and with appropriate conscious controls. Drills are idea, okay? If you do them right for at least two different, arguably psychological reasons. First, when you shoot pool, we use intricate, extensive circuitry involved in our brains and bodies over thousands, even millions of years. This is why some people are simply more trained and more talented. The relevant circuits are more functional still. There is no innate pool shooting circuitry at all. Shooting pool calls it into action many different innate circuits, like many different skilled workers called on to a building. Each brings his skills to the job, but the skills must be coordinated to create something that did not exist before. We have to teach the many innate neuromuscular circuits how to work together to shoot pool. We can consciously coordinate them if we want to waste our bandwidth on such matters, or we can build new brain circuits to tell the innate circuits how to work together to shoot effectively. To build new circuits, we need to do the same thing repeatedly to give the body the right information for building new connections. Our experience, guided by conscious control, orchestrates the innate circuits to work together at the pool table. If we repeat the experience often enough, our nervous system to build new circuits to use in future shots, it's as if our brains say, if I'm going to keep doing this, I'm going to build some shortcuts to take care of it automatically so I don't have to waste so much attention to this thing, right? So think about this. Some research suggests that the way that we learn best, if we try to take on only one new skill at a time, then give our body some time to make the changes induced by the practice. If you practice a given drill for about an hour, say, then you wait about 6 hours before trying anything else new, your learning is more efficient than if you give your body a lot of information about several new skills at once, right? The second reason drills are important in developing new wiring is related to the first. As we have seen, you must consciously calculate how to make your body's many circuits work together. Conscious calculation works best if you keep most conditions constant varying only one or a few related ones at a time. You calculate a plan, you do it, and get a result. Then you do it the same way with a minor variation and see what result this gives you. This is how you figure out what your body needs to do to make a shot. These two reasons fit together to get the innate circuits to work together. You must consciously calculate what to do. Do it, then correct your motions the next time around to see if it is going better a little bit. In conscious calculation, the mastermind, as it were, orchestrates the work of the various discrete brain and muscle circuits. Repetition is critical to find the right orchestration. Then when you have figured out what to do, you need to do it over and over under conscious control to give your body the information to build new circuits. Eventually, the new circuits will develop, and this particular kind of shot becomes automatic. You have quite literally built new wiring into your nervous system. To be precise, the shot becomes ballistic, literally a ballistic motion, in one controlled by the neutral circuit that once set in motion completes its pattern as a routine ballistic motion. Require little conscious effort. Trigger them and they run their course. The more conscious, deliberate work you do at drills, the less work you have to do when you need to make the shot in a game, and the less likely you are to mess it up. If you program yourself for a specific ballistic motion, it runs its course once you trigger it. Thus, if you have built it well, it will succeed. Whenever you're developing a new skill, you must pay conscious attention to as much of your motion as possible. How does the stick feel on the shot? If I change the stroke just so, how does that change what I feel, what I see? How the cue moves, every element of the new shot must be analyzed, perceived, and remember. Any element of the new shot to which you feel to give conscious attention is a wild card. Your new skill will always lack good wiring at just that point. One of the most consistent mistakes players make is trying to learn new skills is attending to only part of the process, usually to the cue ball in object ball, or maybe to the velocity of the cue stick, because our bodies have such wide ranges of motions, and because good shooting requires very small motions. This simply will not do. The precise motions needed for the shot you're trying to learn will never become part of the routine, part of the unconscious controls over that shot, unless you pay attention precisely to what every part of the motion feels like and looks like, if it's in your line of sight, and how it fits with other motions required to make the shot. Because your natural abilities are not sufficient to play the game to its maximum possibilities, you will never become consistent if you fail to acquire deliberately the exact motions required by the shot. A good technique for assessing how well your new wiring is developing is this. You choose a new skill, maybe a particular shot or particular 3-ball sequence that you want to run in order without bothering to think about it. Shoot the shot or sequence 10 times as quickly and thoughtlessly as you can without getting sloppy. Make a note of how many times you made the shot afterwards. Work on that same skill for a solid hour, paying close attention to the sensations involved in every aspect of your play, from the tension in your legs to the feel of the cue stick, the sight of the follow through, and the image of the balls moving around the table. Then forget about it for the day. No more drills. Just shoot racks, play a match, whatever, just don't work too hard. Over the course of a week, work consistently and consciously and deliver on the shot. No fast or thoughtless play during this time on 2 or 3 separate occasions. for a half an hour or so each time. Then come to the pool room, warm up a couple of racks, and again, shoot the shot or sequence 10 times as quickly and thoughtlessly as you can without getting sloppy. Compare the results to the first day. Chances are you will see significant improvement, okay? Significant. If you do this for several weeks, you may find yourself reaching a plateau that you cannot surmount. If so, you have probably failed to analyze some element of the shot. Go back to basics. Study every move consciously. Again, which element have you forgotten to pay attention to? Which hasn't become automatic? All right, you need to understand that. I can illustrate the value of each close attention to minute sensations by examining a common myth of the game. But buying a new cue stick often improves your thing unless you significantly change your style of play so that your old stick simply no longer work for you. A new stick isn't likely to change your game much. When you get a new stick, however, you may pay more attention to the subtle nuances of how it feels to shoot. Novelty induces increased the attention, which is a bedrock, solidly proven fact of psychology. Because you want to see what feels different with the new stick, you pay more attention to what's going on as you shoot. During your period of increased attention, you may learn something. You may inadvertently notice some flaw in your game or correct it, or you may pick up a bit of knowledge about the mechanics of shooting you have overlooked before. The stick itself does not point you towards such knowledge, but they increase the attention to minute sensations. Insistent by curiosity about how the new stick feels, does the stick in fact doesn't feel anything? It's a stick. You feel a great deal more than usual, though, by studying the feel of the stick. You attribute the improvement to your play to the new stick, though in reality, the difference is simply that you are paying more attention to the fine motor control and the fine grained sensations that you have. I want you to think about this for a moment. Notice that the critical question is not how to build new wiring. If you practice carefully and systematically in the way every good instructor tells you, the new wiring takes care of itself. The more critical question is how to integrate conscious and unconscious controls when you play. Even the best players often cripple their games by trying to exert excessive conscious controls, thus undermining unconscious controls. Beginning and intermediate players do this they do it constantly, all the time. One of the great strengths of humans is the power of consciousness to veto unconscious processes. Our flexibility, our ability to choose, our self-discipline, our social relations, our careers, all depend on our ability to decide consciously. To demur or go away from this and that insistent course of action, this strength, of course, can become a weakness. We can question ourselves to death. We can contort and disable our instinctive abilities. We can override the obvious and easy solution to the problem. We can make a conscious choice for which our unconscious wiring is ill-suited. The first step to integrating conscious and unconscious controls is to trust what you process. You process both innate wiring and, more important, the wiring you have built as you have practice. Trust it, let it do its work. What does this mean exactly? Consciousness, like the manager of a business, can work with or against underlying unconsciousness, can be part of the team, letting everyone else, that is unconscious processes, do what they are good at and devoting itself to its executive task. It can refuse to trust the underlyings, worrying to death what they have already done quite well. When you try to control everything consciously, You ignore or veto the knowledge of your consciousness, your unconsciousness. You act like the manager who thinks no one other than himself knows anything. You destroy the work of your innate wiring and all you have learned from experience. Why do you spend all that time honing your skills if you aren't going to let them do their work? You must allow your unconscious mind to do its work and deliver the result to awareness where you use it but must not override it. Use it but don't override it. What does that mean? Well, consciousness must treat the work of the unconscious as the resource that is rather than acting as overlord of it. The unconscious delivers what it knows to consciousness. Consciousness feeds back to the unconscious new information. The two weave together a sense of what to do. You must always take your sense of what needs to be done on a given shot very seriously as you approach the table. Just look at it without much conscious deliberation. You'll see the layout of the balls take on a shape like making a picture from clouds. The shape is not an objective fact about the table. It's what your specific abilities make of the table, of the balls. It's a perpetual interpretation of the table. The combination of the innate talent and your acquired skills have analyzed what they can do with exactly the situation. And the patterns you see are the results that your sense is very specific to. It emerges out of what you already know. This is how a distinct advantage your unconscious is not going to purpose something that it has no idea how to do. You can be sure that your sense of what to do, unlike some consciously calculated strategy, lies within reach of your abilities. Most of the time, your sense of what to do leaves some questions unanswered. All right, fine. But then how do I get onto the 4-ball, for example? This is where conscious calculation enters the discussion. Well, maybe a little more right-hand English on the 3-ball than I was thinking, and I hear more velocity. Sit with that possibility for a moment. See how it feels. That is, wait for your unconscious processes to see whether your conscious proposal sits well with them. If not, try again. Maybe the unconscious says, of course, brilliant suggestion. Why didn't I think of that? Maybe the unconscious says, come on, I know I'm not all that precise with English on such a long shot. Can't you come up with something better? Never try to calculate a shot without paying close attention to the message that comes from the unconscious that is never proceed without, and certainly never dismiss a hunch. Indeed, if you could not reach a conclusion integrating conscious and unconscious perceptions, go with your hunch. If you are an experienced player who has developed good skills, your hunch, the message from the unconscious, is likely very sound. Certainly, a hunch is likely to be within the range of your ability, whereas your conscious decision may not. Well, you might ask, how do you relax all these conscious thoughts? One way to practice relaxing your conscious controls is shooting wing shots. Hold your cue stick in your right hand or your left, whichever. If you're a lefty, hold it in your left, right? Hold the cue ball between the thumb and the index finger and the other hand, with the object ball held against the outer edge and your hand of your pinky. Position the feet for a shot. Roll the object ball, set the cue ball down while the object ball is in motion. As you get the hang of this, you'll find yourself making split decisions, like split-second decisions about where and how to shoot, and you will even find yourself being able to make a practice stroke or two. You will be amazed at the shots you begin to pull off. This is testimony to your unconscious wiring when shooting wing shots. You simply don't have time to override the decisions of the unconscious. Shots carry a danger, though. You may just get sloppy and trash blindly at the ball, with defeats the purpose of you just shooting the shot. You see, if you don't see one, don't shoot if you don't see it, okay? Another way to practice is to throw out 3 balls, then shoot the sequence that first comes to mind without bothering to ask yourself too many questions. Chances are you will find yourself getting shape in ways you never would have imagined consciously. Perhaps the best way to learn to relax conscious controls is simply to play your hunches from time to time, and matches whose outcome, the outcome doesn't matter. So when you play with a friend whose skill is lower than yours, and when you are too tired or care very much about winning, or when you just want a break from worrying how well you play or do whatever occurs to you as you approach the table. Watch the outcome as an event happening in the world, as if you were a spectator rather than an action reflecting on your experience or your expertise, I would say. Of course, you can't do this unless you remove the ego from the shot. If winning is the only thing that matters, and winning is an ego thing for you, you will never be able to relax the conscious control in a match situation sufficiently to try this. Too bad. One of the best ways to develop trust in your unconscious controls is watching. In amazement, the things you can happen when you just play your hunches. Since consciousness attends to contingencies, and since each of us very significantly from night to the next, no rules can be prescribed as to just how much conscious control you will need to exert on a given occasion. Some nights we are on physically, and we face very few game situations beyond our automatic abilities. The whole match just seems to play itself with minimal consciousness effort. Other nights, we can't hold the stick straight without reminding ourselves. Still, the moral of the story is to practice carefully whenever you need to develop new skills, but to relax your conscious control whenever you play. Some nights or some shots, you need a bit more conscious effort than others. But the more knowledge that you've made second nature, the more skills that you've committed to unconscious control. The richer and the more accurate your sense of things will be, okay? Freeing your consciousness to consider advanced issues, all right? So this is what I want to say. So guys, that's the second installment to winning the mental game of pool. If you like what I shared with you, remember, this is the nuts and bolts of pool. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and give the channel a big thumbs up if you liked it, please. And hit the notification bell to be reminded of any new videos I will share with you. If you know of anyone that may benefit from this, please share it with them. And, share it with all your friends. Check out the prior videos that I've made, I've posted. They're completely there for you to improve your game and help with your pool game every bit of the way. So for now, I'll see you soon, and thank you.